Welcome to the New World Order Showcase Podcast. Your host, Jill Hart, the Coach's Alchemist. Couldn't be more excited to have you join us today. On this podcast, we celebrate the champions of change, the up-and-coming life, health and transformational coaches who are fearlessly stepping forward to make a difference in the world. Get ready for inspiring stories, practical tips, and powerful moments that will motivate you to make a positive change in your life and those around you. We're happy to have you join us on this incredible journey as we dive into the world of life, health, and transformational coaches who are lighting up the path towards a better tomorrow.
Hi, and welcome to the New World Order Showcase Podcast. Today we're talking with Kris Ashley. Kris is the author of Change Your Mind to Change Your Reality, a roadmap to guide readers towards living their best life possible. I am so excited to talk to you about this topic, Kris. I love the power of the mind, and I think that's kind of what you're all about. So how did you get started? Welcome to the show. Tell us all the stuff.
Well, thank you so much for having me. First of all, it's really great to be here today. And yes, I love talking about all of this stuff. And we were just talking before the show about how we're so aligned on it. So I'm excited to get into it. Just to answer your question, how I got started is the way a lot of coaches, I imagine, that are on your show get started. And that's by going through something difficult in their life, right? So many people who have had a spiritual awakening or who have really changed their life in really impactful and meaningful ways have gone through something difficult. And I'm no different. So when I was 12 years old, I was sexually abused by a family member for 4 years. And when my very large, tight-knit Italian extended family found out about that, about half of them disowned me. And I remember I had these two cousins who were my best friends. And one day we were inseparable, and the next day they were like ghosts. I wasn't allowed to see them anymore. And on holidays, the family of my abuser would take the mornings, and my parents and I would take the afternoons. So it was a very divided thing. And as you can imagine, as a young adolescent, this left me with all kinds of emotions like anger and guilt that I didn't know how to cope with. You know, most adults don't know how to cope with those types of emotions. And it caused me to start getting in trouble in school. I was doing drugs, I was self-harming, and I was going down this downward spiral. And everything changed when someone handed me a book. And it completely changed my way of thinking, my way of being, my way of moving through life. And I remember turning the pages and thinking, wow, this feels like the truth. And I like to say I was like a sleeper agent, right? Like something inside of me just woke up. And when I finished that book, I started reaching for more, and I just became insatiable. I started devouring every metaphysical, spiritual, new age, personal development, psychology, you name it, book that I could get my hands on. And I started attending seminars and retreats. I started finding teachers to study under. And my life just became one big mission to learn, grow, heal, expand every aspect of myself. And I just dove in headfirst. I put all of these healing modalities into practice, and my life started to really change. And then as this was happening, as I was starting to get better, my mother started to get worse because her family had been ripped down the seams, and she didn't have all these teachers and books and healing modalities that I was finding. You know, I was doing this inner work. I didn't know what it was, right? I just felt good. And so my mom, it manifested in physical illness for her. So I watched her get very, very sick with very serious illnesses like cancer and hepatitis, and also very strange afflictions that her doctors at Northwestern had never even heard of before. And so they were giving her pills, and then they were giving her pills for the side effects of those pills, and just throwing anything at the wall, hoping something would stick. And she slept a lot. She slept for all but a few hours of daylight. at the height of it, she was on, I think, like 13 pills. She had a fentanyl patch, and she was falling down all the time. Every time we had this really meaningful conversation, she wouldn't even remember it the next day. She would nod off at the dinner table. The first time she met my husband, she fell over a table. Like, she was just, this lasted for almost 15 years. So I had this compounded guilt that I had destroyed my family and broken my mother. But I like to say that in the end, it was my mother who inadvertently became my biggest teacher, because every step she took deeper into depression and illness, I climbed in the other direction out of that dark tunnel, because I was seeing what was happening to this human body and spirit in front of me going down that other path. And then I was seeing what was happening to my own as I decided to change my mind about the nature of reality. And I made this promise to myself that I would always prioritize my physical, mental, emotional, spiritual health. And I would do everything I could to heal. And it's a promise I've kept to this day. And after changing my life, I decided to give back. And now I'm a life coach. I know that was a long-winded answer, but that's the story.
Powerful,
Yeah.
powerful story.
Yeah.
And it's so easy to get trapped like your mom in just like depression and not know that there are answers outside of just drugging yourself, which, and my mom drugged herself too. So totally there with you. It's like, and it really impacts us a lot when it's our moms, because those are the people that we're like, we are connected to, and you never cannot be connected to your mother.
Right.
You're physically were connected to her for a long period of time. So did you try to reach her about what you were learning, or did she just like so far into the
it got to a point where I won't give her books anymore, because she gets really insulted when I do, because she reads it as me being better than her, or me knowing better than her. So it was actually, I don't think I've ever actually said this before on a podcast or out loud, but it was a big motivating factor for writing my book, and it's actually dedicated to her, because I knew she would read my book, as her daughter. And it was like, okay, this is a way that I can kind of show her all this. So I wrote it for everyone and for myself, but I really wrote it for her.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Wow. So
she liked it.
She has read it and she does like it?
She's read it more than once, and she started to put some of the things into practice. And I've seen a change in her attitude, her mood already, and it's pretty cool. But I'm not pushing. I'm just gently,
That's really all you can do. So how did you go about changing your reality by using your mindset or using your mind?
Yeah, kind of in the way that I explained, like I didn't really know what I was doing, but I was doing all of this inner work. And, I think when I work with clients to help them, I think the first piece of it is understanding your belief system and your lens and your unconscious programming, because I'm a life coach and I teach people to, use the law of attraction and visualize their dream life, and we map it out and I help them close that gap to get there. But I do that. But then what I really focus on is removing the blocks that keep people from being able to manifest, right? Because the universe isn't just this genie in a bottle. And so many people teach the law of attraction that way, right? You can just like kick back and put your feet up and tell the universe what you want. It doesn't work like that. So you have to do the work. So, things like our unconscious programming, our belief system, grudges we hold on to, repressed emotions, all of that can seep into your manifesting. It can, it's like these glasses that you put on, right? They say rose-colored glasses, but it's a lens through which you view the world. So there's a lot of work in undoing that, because, by the time you're 35, 95% of your mind is run by your unconscious programming, right? So you could be doing all the great things. You could be saying affirmations or journaling or creating a vision board, but you're literally going to be sabotaging yourself 95% of the day. And all of that comes from like before the age of 7 is when most of it comes, right? So it's the opinions of the adults you grew up around, social conditioning, the crush who rejected you, the boss who says you're not good enough. All these things form your belief system and lens. And so it's a lot of unlearning is what happens.
And reframing. I find that reframing is very helpful. The things that you as a 6 or 7-year-old thought about a situation, that doesn't serve you anymore. And you could be still hanging on to it, to what you felt or how you thought about a situation. I'll tell you a story about a dog and my mom. And I'm 63. I've held on to this for a really long time. But a couple months ago, I was talking with a coach of mine, and she's like, she helped me rephrase it. And it gave me like so much peace when we did. But the story is, when I was 6, we lived in Naples, Italy, and I had to walk down this hill to get to the school bus to go to first grade. And every day I walked down this hill, and this German Shepherd, I'm 6, I'm little, and a German Shepherd, he was full grown, would come and take my lunch. Well, he wouldn't really take my lunch. I'd give him my lunch, hoping he would go away because I didn't want to get bit.
Oh no.
Because I was terrified of this dog. He was probably really a friendly dog, and he knew I was going to give him food. I was making the problem worse. But I would beg my mom, I had 2 younger sisters, to take me down to the bus stop. And I was mad. I mean, just mad at her for years, decades, most of my life over this incident. She gave me an umbrella and she said, just poke him. I'm like, I'm not poking the dog. I'm going to get bit for her. So the reframing of it is, I am who I am today because of the way my mom treated me and raised me. There were a lot of things she did that were not really very, very nice. But if you hang on to that bad feeling, it doesn't really serve you as an adult. Much like this is a much, much way lower example than what you went through at a time when you really didn't have a say. So how do you adjust that to that in your life?
Yeah, I think you totally nailed it. And that's really what my book is about also, is changing your perspective, right? Because if you can learn to shift your perspective from one of being a victim to one of being empowered, and every adversity that we go through is an opportunity to learn and grow, right? There's a hidden Easter egg. And when you find it, you level up. And that's really what life is about. That's why we're here. We're here to learn and grow and have experiences as a human being. So, sometimes when I tell my story, people are like, oh, I'm so sorry you went through that. And I'm like, I'm not. I wouldn't change a thing because it brought me to this moment. It led me to awakening. It was this catalyst. It needed to happen. And I'm actually grateful for every challenge that I've gone through. It's not fun when you're going through it, but as you start to change your mindset and shift your perspective and you grow and you level up more, when challenges do come, you almost look forward to it because you're like, okay, I know on the other side of this is growth. And that's when you know that you really changed, right? So it's all about being in that empowered mindset, because we're not a victim of our circumstances or other people or anything. We are creators in our own life, and everything happens for us, not to us.
Right. The universe is trying to help you. It's
exactly
a friendly place.
Exactly.
And when you can change your perspective, and when you embrace the story that is your life, and I personally believe we choose what we're going to go through here.
100%.
And everybody's on a different journey. So not everybody is meant to be in your story the whole way through. Some are bit actors, and some are pivotal points in your story, but it's just a story and you're the hero and you get to choose how the story is going to go. And I love that meme that was out there for a while. It's like, when things aren't going your way, yell plot twist and change them.
I love that. And I 100% talk about that in my book, that life is a game, a play, a movie, right? And you are the lead player, the lead role, the hero of your own story. And it's like we've created this, I like to think of it as like you're dropped into a video game world, right? Like you choose your avatar, you choose what you look like, the parents you're born to, what your circumstances are, you choose how you're going to die, you choose some big life circumstances, because they plant the seeds for you to grow. But then it's up to you if you actually grow from those, right? And then you get to assemble, once you're in this game, your dream life, right? You get to assemble your career that you love, the people that you want to cultivate relationships with, everything. And it's, when you think about it that way, life becomes really fun. And I love the play metaphor too. I talk about that as well. Like that's how I teach forgiveness. Actually, it's like we all have soul contracts with each other, right?
Yes.
And someone might be your enemy here, right? They're this villain, but they're probably your best friend on the other side, right? And they love you so much that they've agreed to play this part to help you grow, right? And then when all of this is over, you're on the other side of the veil, they're going to take their costume off and give you a big hug and tell you you did so good. And when you can shift your perspective and think of these people like that, you have a lot more compassion for them, right? You're grateful. And, we tend to turn these people into monsters, but they're really teachers. And if you can change your mind and start to think about everyone as your teacher, then you're always growing,
Yes, it's an opportunity for learning for not just you, but everybody that's around you. And how you interact with people that are not showing up in a way that is perceived as being the way things should be.
Right.
It impacts others too. I mean, your mom's a great example. Your mom's life was catastrophically changed, but she too chose that.
Oh,
she
totally.
agreed to be your mother.
Absolutely.
And presumably the sister of your abuser, or somewhere along those lines.
Yeah, absolutely. We choose our big life circumstances. Yeah.
So she too has that, and she has the ability to change how she's recognizing what's going on, to change her perspective. So you were telling me before we got started that you did just publish this book fairly recently.
June 20th. Yeah. Pretty recently.
Yeah. That is, kudos to you for writing it and getting it out there. And so you were mentioning that you had this great offer for people that buy your book through your website. You want to tell them about that?
I do. Yeah. So if you go to, the URL is a little bit long. So it's https:// and then www.changeyourmindtochangeyourreality, title of the book, .com/order book. So changeyourmindtochangeyourreality.com/order book. If you order it through there, then you can get my course for free. So the course is an $897 value. It goes hand in hand with the book. And you can still choose your favorite bookstore to buy the book through. It's on Amazon, Walmart, Google Books, Apple Books, everywhere you get your books, Barnes and Noble. And it's an audio, paperback, ebook. But as long as you go through that website to buy it, you'll get the course for free.
That is really exciting. Yeah, I'm glad that you have such like a fantastic offer. So when you do work with people, and I do presume you are a life coach and you are working with people, how does that look, and how can they get in touch with you?
Yeah, it's absolutely great question. So there's a few different tiers. So I have a online course that's completely pre-recorded. I have a weekly group coaching call, and then I do work one-on-one with clients as well. And actually, the other thing I have in the works right now, a business partner and I are going to be putting on personal development events around the Bay Area where I'm from. So if you're in California, come check them out. And there's going to be a lot of different ways to get in touch with me there as well. I'm going to keep making more courses. So yeah, it just depends on how much you want to work with me, and if you like the group coaching aspect or you want to do the pre-recorded online. And I love working with clients. I love working with people. And that's what I say. If my story can help one other person, my experience can help one other person, then it's all worth it. So this is what my sole purpose is, why I'm here on this planet. So
that's amazing. So I was looking at your website, and there was one part, or maybe it was when you were explaining to me what you did, but it seems to me that the people that wrote The Secret endorsed you in some way. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. So it was really cool. So my book has been endorsed by 3 experts who were in the film The Secret: Marcy Shimoff, Michael Bernard Beckwith, and Bob Doyle. If you're in the spiritual or personal development space, those names are probably mean a lot to you. It was also endorsed by Anita Moorjani. Do you know who that is?
I do not personally.
She was Wayne Dyer's protege. She wrote this amazing book called Dying to Be Me. And it was based off of like her TED Talk, but she had a near-death experience after going into a coma from stage 4 cancer. And then she came back and her cancer was gone. So she has a phenomenal story. She tours around with Greg Braden and Bruce Lipton. Like, she's a big deal. She endorsed my book. And then John Gray, who wrote Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus, endorsed it. And about, I think, like 12 other authors in the space, one QHHT practitioner. So yeah, I was very humbled and grateful to get those endorsements. And Bob Frissell is another one. He wrote Nothing in This Book is True, but it's exactly how things are. I don't know if you've ever read that one. That's a good one too.
Oh, I love that.
So yeah, it was pretty special to have all these people whose work I've revered and who I have so much respect for, then turn around and endorse it.
Very special. Very special. I'm so glad that you wrote it, because your story needs to be told. Yeah. And the amazing way that you've overcome what most people would perceive as a crippling experience, just by changing your mind and shifting your reality.
Yeah. And it's funny when I go on these podcasts, there's either podcasters like you who really get it, and it's like, yeah, let's talk about the spirituality and the content and all of this amazing stuff. And then there's people who get really stuck on the trauma, right? But when you actually look at my book, it's like a page and a half. Like the first page and a half is that story, and that's it, because it was just a catalyst, right? It was just something I had to go through to wake up, like you said, something that I was contracted to do. And then the real work begins, right? And then we get to talk about how your emotions are tied to your health and the placebo and nocebo effect. And we get to talk about resiliency and forgiveness and reprogramming your unconscious mind and get into like all the meat of it, right? That's the fun stuff.
Yeah, and it's so powerful. Your mind is so powerful. People have no idea what creators we really can be. And when we speak, the words we speak over ourselves, but the words we speak over others is also really impactful.
Yeah.
It actually changes your body chemistry.
Yeah.
Because we're water.
Yeah, absolutely. And even just on a biological aspect, like your thoughts make you feel certain emotions, right? And when you're feeling emotions of stress, your brain starts to go into incoherence with your heart, and it sends a disorderly signal down your nervous system, and that sends a disorderly signal to your endocrine system and your digestive system and your immune system, and it can literally make you sick just from your thoughts. This is science backed. Sometimes people are like, oh, this is a lot of woo woo, but this is science backed. You can make yourself sick, and you can make yourself heal, right? If you can make yourself sick,
Wayne Dyer is a great example of that. He basically was told he'd never walk again, and he healed himself by his thoughts.
Yeah.
It's what he talks about feeling what you're going to feel like when you've actually realized the reality you want, which is, it's an interesting exercise to try to feel what you think you'll feel like.
Exactly. Joe Dispenza talks about that a lot too.
Yeah, it's Joe Dispenza. I was thinking, I conflate the two all the time.
Two amazing people.
They are both really amazing people, and
Yeah.
Dispenza does a lot of science to back up what he's doing. I mean, he measures brain waves and your body chemistry when you're having certain thoughts, and there's, like I said, we keep saying, there's data that supports the idea that you change your thoughts, change your mind, and you'll change your reality. Things will just be different. And you're absolutely right as far as your emotions generating a response in your body with your endocrine system. And listening to your body is another thing people don't do.
Right.
Get out of your head and into, what is your body telling you about something? How are you feeling? And really trying to connect with that.
Exactly. And all these symptoms that you feel when you're in pain or when something's going on are messages from your body, exactly like you were just saying. And so often we just medicate, right? And I like to liken it to your smoke detectors going off because there's a fire in your house. And you could take the batteries out of the smoke detector, aka cover up the symptom, but it's not going to take care of the problem, right?
Right.
So exactly. Listen to your body. Yes, and oftentimes that comes from repressed emotions, right? From emotions that you're not allowing yourself to feel, because emotions are energy and they are powerful. And if you don't feel them, they just get stuck in your body, and they can cause muscle tension, they can cause pain, they can cause disease, which of course is dis-ease, and a whole host of problems. So
they can get stuck in your organs.
Yeah.
You heard of the body code, I'm sure. Where
I haven't read that one.
It's actually a modality where you can use your body to get answers to things that you've locked, emotions that you've locked into different organs, and it's a way to release them and let them go. And it's not invasive at all, but it's one of those things that there's so many new modalities out there for helping people get through repressing trauma, which is really the bigger part of what happens with people who experience things that they don't really have an explanation for, or they're trying to make the explanation fit their paradigm that they're living in, rather than just allowing their paradigm to shift. It's okay.
Absolutely. Well, because when you're in that heightened state, you can't even process new information, right? Like when your nervous system is like in sympathetic, like fight, flight, or freeze, and your brain waves are in high beta, like nothing comes in unless it's in alignment with those thoughts and feelings you're already having, right? So that's where Joe Dispenza's work comes in. He helps people meditate and get down back to their alpha brainwave state and their theta brainwave state. But yeah, and then I love also using quantum physics a lot in my book too. Like that backs all of this up too. So, it all ties in together. It's pretty amazing.
It is. I choose to believe energy is the world. It's just in different forms and shapes, and we're all connected in it. We're all just energy formed in different shapes, but it's always transferring around. Nothing is stagnant. Everything is always vibrating, because energy vibrates. It has a signature, and each person has a signature vibration. And it's just so beautiful how intricate and powerful it all is. And we've learned to harness a few things, but go ahead.
No, go ahead and finish.
well, we've learned to harness electricity in terms of using power to get a result, but we are batteries, we are powers, we have all of that at our disposal. It's what we choose to do with our thoughts that make it turn on or off.
Absolutely. And what really excites me too about quantum physics is that every possible reality exists out there in a future state, right? In just a state of rest, just waiting to be chosen by our thoughts, by the law of attraction. And it's everything you can imagine and everything you can't imagine. And I love the many worlds theory of quantum physics too. And it coincides a lot. I'm a big Dolores Cannon fan. I don't know if you've ever read her work.
Mm-mm.
Oh, she's amazing. She's a past life regression hypnotist. She passed away, and she wrote 19 books that chronicle her sessions. Like, they're literally the transcribed recordings. And it's everything from ET abductions to people regressing as like a star, or to the place between life and death. They're amazing. But one of the things her clients talked about was how we're not a whole soul. We're a fraction of a soul. So every time you have a choice to make, you make the conscious choice you do, and then your timeline branches off. And there's another version of you that lives through the other choice. And then each time those two timelines have to make a choice, they branch off. And pretty soon there's all these timelines starring you as the lead actor. And some of them are very different to the life you're living. And some of them are very similar, and some are vastly different. But all of this is so we can have as many experiences as possible, so that when we go back to the other side, right, we have all this knowledge, we have as many lived experiences. And I love it because quantum physics backs it up, right? The many worlds theory of quantum physics says that, there's this wave function. You can think of it like a cloud or a realm of possibilities. Everywhere a particle can be, right? Because particles are really waves, or matter is really waves. But when we look at them, the wave function collapses and it becomes a particle in one time and space only. So quantum physics says that every other place that particle could exist in that realm, in that cloud, actually exists in another timeline that's parallel to ours. And that's the many worlds theory of quantum physics. And it's just, I love when science and biology and all these things back up what these mystics and these teachers have been saying for so long. And people who have had NDEs and people who have been regressed to past lives, and it just all comes together. It gives me chills. I love it. There's so much more going on than we know.
Yeah, there's just so much more than just what we perceive in our very limited day-to-day existence. When you start talking about exponential existences of your soul going through this timeline, and then you multiply that by all the other timelines that you've been a part of.
Yeah.
Like, I've had glimpses of past lives, so I know that it does exist. And that's just like, it's so much.
Yeah.
But so simple.
Yeah. And then if you want to make it even crazier, time doesn't really exist, right? It just exists as a function of our 3D Earth. So past lives are actually parallel lives, right? And time exists so that we can come here and learn how to use the law of attraction, learn how to use this quantum field, right? Because as we rise in levels of consciousness to other dimensions and in our next lifetimes, that power is going to be automatic. And think about 70 to 90% of people's thoughts right now are negative and repetitive. So you don't want to think about something negative and have it just immediately appear into your life. So there's this buffer, right? There's time. So it teaches us how to use this power so that we can redirect, right? So that we can change our minds. So yeah, no, it's a lot to think about, but it's so fun to think about. These mind expanding topics. These are the conversations that are just so fun to have. Like, why would anyone want to talk about celebrity gossip when they could talk about this, right?
I know, right? It's just like the possibilities are truly endless.
Yeah.
And it doesn't even matter if what we understand about the past is true or not, because I have questions about what we're told reality is and
Yeah.
has been. And it's kind of why I started this show, because I had in my mind, I was creating a reality that I did not want to have materialize. And I realized that all I have to do is focus on the people that are being the change they want to see in the world. And it's a little shift in a thought process, but it's a big shift, because I really truly believe coaches and people that are exploring the edges of what has normally been taught to us to be the accepted state of being, and they're just like, they're stuck in that thing. And I was stuck in it too for a long time. So, no, I'm not bashing anybody. Everybody's on their own spot in their journey.
Totally.
But to get to talk with somebody that's like, yeah, and what about this? And what about this? and these possibilities, it's just so fun.
Yeah. And, I wonder if the reason you love seeing, like, focusing on those people who are being the change they want to see, because it opens your own mind up. That's what it did for me. It opened my own mind up to the possibility that, like, hey, if they can do it, so can I. If they're able to help this many people, so can I. If they're able to make this much money, so can I, or whatever it is, right? And then those people make the path that much easier for everyone else. And that's how you heal the world, by the way. You don't heal the world by fighting the outside world. You heal the world by healing yourself and rising and being that shining light for others, giving them a helping hand. And I'm going to use the same line you said to me earlier: rising tides lift all ships, right? And as the people in your life see you change and grow and level up, it inspires them to do so, right? That's like my mom. If I sent her a Joe Dispenza book, she would get so insulted. But it's like, if she sees me changing, it's like, oh, well, what are you doing? And it sends this ripple effect. And then the people whose lives you touch others. And it's just, that's how you change the world.
It's exactly how you change the world.
Yeah.
And you find the one thing that you can do to help. Just touch somebody else's life in a positive way, so that ripple effect can start. It's like, casting the stone into the water, because you don't know what it's going to change on the shoreline.
Exactly. And I like how you said, just find the one thing you can do, because you don't have to be out there in the public eye. You don't have to be a coach. It doesn't take much to touch someone's life. Just small acts. Yeah.
Well, is there one thing you want to leave the audience with today? Because I'll just sit here and talk to you all afternoon.
I know. I like how you said it's going to be 20 minutes. It's like 45 later. I love it. But that's how you know that it's a good conversation. One thing I would say, that we're all in this together. That's a really important message. We are all reflections of each other. We are all parts of the same. We came from the same thing. We go back to the same thing. No one outside of you is separate. We're all living in this illusion of reality, right? This school, this game, this play, whatever you want to call it. And what one person does really does affect everyone else, kind of like we were just talking about. And again, quantum physics backs this up with entanglement. Like two particles or two electrons or whatever they are can be light years apart. And when one is changed, the other one immediately, instantaneously, because they're connected. So, if you hurt another person, if you send out this is why I hate cancel culture, by the way. It's like, if you make another person feel humiliated or shame or angry or anything, all of those emotions that you're making that other person feel go into the quantum realm, right? And then it gets reflected back at all of us. And you can't say that you want world peace and be fighting with your coworkers, right? Like, we are all connected. So, when we reflect love and kindness and compassion and understanding out into the world gets more of that. So there's a lot of turbulence out there right now. There's a lot of victimization out there right now. There's a lot of judgment and blame. And, the more we put things onto others, the more it's going to come back to all of us. So
be the hero of your own story. You're in charge. You can make it up as you go along. It's okay.
Exactly. You're the director of your own play, right?
Yep, absolutely. Yeah. I have to tell you one more thing.
Yeah.
I heard a while ago that someone, and I'm probably going to screw this up, but it had to do with electrons and chemical compounds. I think it was some sort of medication, but when the formula changed in the lab, it changed in the same compound that was out in the public, which I thought was really interesting.
You know what that reminds me of? That is super interesting. It reminds me of the 100th monkey theory, or 100th monkey effect. Have you heard of that? Okay, it's cool. I know we're trying to wrap up, but it's really fast.
Yeah, good. Let's hear.
So in Japan, I forget, I think it was like the 50s or something, there was this team of scientists studying these monkeys on this island in Japan. And they would they were a wild colony of monkeys, and they would feed them sweet potatoes, but they would throw the sweet potatoes into the sand. And the monkeys loved the sweet potatoes, but they hated the sand that covered them. And they studied these monkeys for like a span of like 30 years. And then one day, this one young female monkey took her potato and she washed it off in water. And other monkeys in her family saw her do this, and they started to do it. And then other monkeys in the colony saw it, and they started to do it. And then one day, they call it the 100th monkey effect. One day, there was this tipping point that was reached. And all of a sudden, monkeys across the entire island were washing their sweet potatoes. But not only that, monkeys on every other island in Japan, as well as on mainland Japan, all started washing their food the same way on the same day. And they hadn't witnessed the behavior. It was like it uploaded into the collective consciousness, right? So it reminds me exactly of that. And it's, again, we are all connected.
I have literal goosebumps from this story.
Isn't that cool?
Wow.
I know, I do too.
Yeah, that same sort of concept with electrons don't behave, particles don't behave the same when you look at them.
Yeah.
Or when you're not looking at them.
Yeah.
And they can be anywhere and everywhere all at the same time.
Yeah, because it's a wave. I know, it's super trippy. And it goes back to what you were saying. It's all a vibration. And even atoms, like when we were in science class, we thought atoms were these tangible things that you could see, but they're spinning vortexes of invisible energy. Like if you think about, have you ever seen the wind pick up some leaves and spin them around like a little mini tornado? Mm-hmm. It's like that, but without the leaves. So if you, and Bruce Lipton talks about this, like he says, if you were to look at an atom under a microscope, from far away, it would look like a blurry sphere. The closer you get to it, the less in focus it would become. And then right when you're on top of it, it would just disappear. All you would see is a physical void. And everything in our universe is made of atoms. This is at our foundational level. So when you said we're all vibration, like we literally are all energy and vibration. That's all we are.
We don't actually exist.
Yeah. Yeah. And everything else is this is all made up of vibrating energy. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then it makes your problems seem not that big of a deal, right?
Really, in the realm of things, nothing really matters.
Exactly.
And everything matters.
Yeah. And that's what's so cool about all those NDEs experiences. When all these people report the same thing, when they go back, there is zero judgment. It's just pure unconditional love. Everything they went through in their life, even if they did terrible things, there's no judgment because it was all just a learning experience, right? It was all just a school that you went to, a grade in school, and it's just pure love on the other side. So it really doesn't matter, it does and it doesn't, like you said. But, we have endless chances to pass this grade. And then we just go on to the next grade, and the next planet is the next being in the next dimension or wherever it is, and we just climb that ladder.
So exciting.
Yeah.
Well, Kris, how can people get in touch with you?
Thanks for having me.
I have really appreciated you and the conversation so much.
Me too.
Is there, you already gave the website, right?
Yeah, changeyourmindandchangeyourreality.com/order book.
There you go. Get her book. Change your mind and change your reality.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for joining me.
Thank you so much. It was really great to be here.
Thank you so much for tuning in to another empowering episode of the You World Order Showcase podcast. We hope you've enjoyed hearing from our incredible life, health, and transformational coaches who are making a profound impact on the world. Remember, change begins with you, and you have the power to transform your life and the lives of others. If you want to take that next step and unlock your true potential, visit thecoachesalchemist.com, where you can find the 3 ways we can help you for free to spin your talent into gold with clarity, a system, and a plan. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you never miss an inspiring episode. And if you enjoyed today's show, we'd greatly appreciate it if you could leave us a review on your favorite podcast platform. Your feedback means the world to us and helps us reach more people with our positive message. Stay connected with us on social media for updates, behind-the-scenes content, and upcoming guest announcements. You can find us on Facebook at the You World Order or simply visit thecoachesalchemist.com.